But we kind of bring things back to Medina Bike Park, I think, because
Yeah.
you were doing some work there, and there was an opportunity. Sam Hill was coming there for some kind of prize competition thing, I think, to ride with
Yeah.
someone for the day, and you had the opportunity to basically show him around the bike park,
Yeah.
which I think was quite a pivotal moment for you. Not only a cool thing as an Aussie downhiller or any downhiller, let's face it, to get the chance to ride with Sam, but talk us through that experience and kind of what came of it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, after that kind of season where I got to do a few enduro rounds, I went back and kept working it out at Medina, and yeah, it was Revolution magazine in Australia ran a competition where it was like ride with Sam Hill for the day and at Medina, and someone had won it, and Sam was coming down with this guy, and it was kind of like an all expenses paid trip for them, and I kind of feel like I ended up like hijacking that a bit. But I remember I was like, I kind of heard Sam was coming down, and I was like pretty excited hadn't really like, I'd said good day a few times, but hadn't really met him before. And like, if you're a young mountain biker in Australia, like Sam is he's the man, he's the hero. He's like who I was getting up at 3 a.m. to watch on the TV. And I was even saying to someone the other day, I'm pretty sure like in my primary school art class, we had to draw someone and draw a portrait. And I think I actually drew Sam. So it'd be pretty funny I'll have to go hunt around and see if my mum still got that drawing somewhere. But anyway, Simon, my boss the owner of Medina, I rocked up to work one day, and like I bring my bike every day, and he was just like, as I was getting ready for work, he was like, "Oh, Sam's here today. You should take the day off and show him around." And I was just like, "Pardon? Like what?" And he was like, "Yeah, just go riding for the day and show Sam what we got up the hill." And I was just like, "Oh man, this is going to be sick." So yeah, got to meet Sam and hang out for the day, and just like showed him a bunch of what I thought were the best tracks I could find up the hill. And we had a pretty gnarly day up the hill. It was pretty wet, and Medina in the wet's like quite a wild ride. It's quite like clay soil over there, and we have some like really small sort of like sniper routes everywhere. So it's pretty exciting in the wet. And I knew the trails quite well, and it was so cool to show him around. And I kept being like, "Oh, you go first," and he's like, nah, like you go first. And it was pretty insane. Like the odd time that he'd be like, "Yeah, right, like I'll go for a lap." I remember there was one trail up there and this is like Sam had just come off that must have been his third in a row, like overall title for enduro. He was like completely on fire. And there was a trail at Medina that I'd like mapped out the trail, built the trail, ridden it most laps of the bike park, and he led me out on it, and he'd never seen the trail before, and he dropped me on his first lap. And I was just like, this is insane. Like, how can you read a trail like that? It was a pretty cool experience to see someone like ride a bike like that. And then we just had this epic day out, and just did a whole heap of laps and rode a bunch of stuff. And that at the end of that day, he he got in touch with, I wasn't getting any support. SRAM were helping me out a heap with stuff for my bike, but in terms of like a frame sponsor, I wasn't getting any support. And I was telling him that I was super keen to go over and race like a full season of enduro. And Sam got in touch with Nukeproof, and he was like, "Oh, you just need to send this kid some bikes. He's riding really well." And kind of went from there.
That is amazing. That was like just before COVID, right? I think didn't the whole like Nukeproof thing go a bit cold through the whole COVID period, because everything obviously went a bit wild.
Yeah. So after that I was just like got super stuck into some training, and I was planning. I hadn't heard from Nukeproof yet, and I was just like planning on going overseas and trying to race as much as I could. And it was all coming up pretty quickly. Like the first rounds were going to be in South America, and like I was all booked to go, like had flights, accommodation, everything booked. And then Nukeproof had got in touch, and I remember I was up when it was pretty cool. Like I was up the hill working in the machine, like building some trails, and Nukeproof just sent me a message on their Instagram at the time, and it was pretty short and sweet. And they were just like, "Oh, Sam gave you a great review and said we should send you some bikes. Let us know what you need." And I just got back to them straight away and sent them my email and said like that would be amazing. And then that was pretty much like a couple of days later was pretty much when the whole world just kind of shut down with COVID, and didn't hear anything for pretty much over a year after that. And then just kind of hung out in Tassie and built trails for a while while that was all happening. And then once everything was kind of starting to open up a little bit, and it was still not really happening. Like maybe the COVID races had started happening that season. Pretty much that whole, this is almost like 2 years, a year and a half later it must have been. Things were starting to get moving again, and I was getting pretty keen to go do some racing again. And I just replied to the same sort of email that I'd sent, and was just like, "Hey, like, are you guys still interested in doing something?" And then Rob at Nukeproof got back to me straight away, and he was just like, "Oh, so sorry that we didn't get back to you. Like, let us know what we need and we'll send it out next week."
That's amazing. Yeah, that's super cool. And obviously, things got really rolling, I think, with that extra bit of support from Nukeproof. And it looks like start of 2022 was when it really started to fall into place. We opened the EWS series that year in Inleithen in Scotland, and you walked away with an awesome 5th place. Was that a surprise result for you? Were you feeling like you were capable of that walking into the start of that season?
Yeah, well, even backtracking a bit, there was kind of like a whole year there with the Nukeproof stuff where they just had sent me some frames. So after that call, they sent me some frames out, and then the only place I was able to travel was over to New Zealand. At the time, like there's a little like travel arrangement between Australia and New Zealand, so I was able to go over, and I went over and I bought a van over there and traveled around New Zealand for the year, and just did a heap of biking and surfing and a bunch of like little New Zealand races. And then I got to the end of that year and had Crankworx in Rotorua, which that was kind of like the first proper race that I'd done with Nukeproof. I'd kind of done a few local races here and there, but that was like the first proper race that I'd done. And that week just went amazingly for me, and I ended up with a couple of podiums, like one in the downhill and one in the slalom. And it was kind of I was kind of like loosely talking to Nukeproof about trying to get overseas the following year to race some stuff. And I'd but the funny thing was I'd been traveling around New Zealand for a year. I'd pretty much spent all my money that I had saved. And Nukeproof, after that Crankworx, Nukeproof, they got in touch and said, "I was super keen for you to come overseas and do some racing." And I think they were keen for me to race like an entire EWS series. And I think they just didn't have really any funding to do it at the time. So I kind of spent all my savings. It was like this amazing opportunity to go to Europe and race, but they couldn't really give me any funding. It was like, I remember it being like $6 or $7 grand, which would have covered my flights pretty much. But I was going to be away for 6 months, and I had no savings, and I just had to get back to them, and I just had to be like, "Oh, like such an amazing opportunity, and like I'd love to do it, but I got to go to work. Like I can't do it." And I had to turn it down.
Man.
And
No way.
After that, I left New Zealand, traveled back to Tassie, and started working again at the bike park. And then just got a call out of the blue, and Nukeproof had been talking to SRAM, and SRAM managed to pitch in a little bit of extra money. And that was enough for me to be like, okay, like this is going to cover all my flights traveling. This is going to cover like a van while I'm over there. Like I'm just going to have to be like an absolute dirtbag, but it's like, it's too good of an opportunity to turn down. So, and I'd earn a little bit of money when I was back in Tassie for that couple of months trail building. I was like, it's going to be like on the bones, but I can probably make it work. So, yeah, I was like, yep, this is awesome. Let's do it. And went over to the UK, and arrived and stayed with Rob Sherritt, who was the Nukeproof brand manager at the time. And then did a little bit of media stuff with him while I was there, and then went straight up to Innerleithen and stayed with Pagey for a while as well before the Innerleithen race. And then that was that was where things, it was just like this amazing run of kind of like coincidences which led me to where I am now. But that Innerleithen race was really like where it happened, and getting that 5th place there kind of opened up so many doors, because Nukeproof, after that happened, Nukeproof just managed to put me on the team. And I went from being like, I was like, I can barely afford to do this. I'm over here, I can barely afford to do this, to like, after that, they're like, oh, we're going to cover all your expenses while you're over here, after that 5th place, which was just like such a relief. And I was just like, now I can do this.